Hello and welcome to Brandex Reviews. This one I'm going to be reviewing the new film Sin City 2. Now this is a film I've been waiting a long time for, as have many fans. 9 years pretty much since the release of the original film, 2005. Hard to believe it was that long ago. Now I saw the first film having not read any of the books. It was really the first film that kind of got me into them, so pretty much straight away I went out and bought the entire collection, which I've reviewed previously. It was one of the first reviews I did back last October, I believe, 2013. This is the collection that I'm kind of going off of the actual graphic novels. So just kind of explain what this is, because a lot of people won't understand which books Sin City 1 and 2 are based on. So I kind of covered the first one in the first review in depth, so I won't really go into that. Plus this is a review of the second film, so naturally that's what I'm going to be talking about. This is a collection, it's 6 books, 6 graphic novels. And book number 6, which is a particularly thin one, is a collection of short stories basically. Some of them are like only a few pages long. In the first film they used one of the short stories from book number 6. They also used book number 1, 3 and 4. Book number 1 is called The Hard Goodbye, and that was a story about Marv in the first film. Book number 3 was The Big Fat Kill, that was one with Dwight McCarthy. Dwight McCarthy was played by Clive Owen. And book number 4 is That Yellow Bastard, and that was one with Bruce Willis. So the second film, which is what I'm going to review today, is based on, it's 4 stories, but only 2 of them are actually books. The other 2 stories were made for the film specifically. So the main story, as you would have guessed, is A Dame to Kill For, which is book number 2. And as I say obviously because that's what the film's called, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. So that's the main body of the film basically. And that obviously was book number 2, so when they did the first film they kind of skipped that. They went just books 1, 3 and 4. So book number 3 is a direct sequel to book number 2. It's about Dwight McCarthy, who's played by Clive Owen in the original film. In this one he's played by Josh Brolin. And it's fine that it's a different actor, because actually in book number 2 what happens at the end is he has his face altered so he looks different, which is actually referred to in the original film because obviously it was based literally page for page on the book. So there's a reference in there to him coming back with that new face of his. So it's fine that they recast him with a different person. So that's the main story, so that's book number 2. The other book that it's based on, it's actually not a book, it's one of the short stories from book number 6, and that's called Just Another Saturday Night. That's how the film opens basically, with the Marv character. He was killed in the first film, but that's fine because it's all books are kind of set out of sequence with each other. So it's a story about him. He gets into a fight basically and loses his memory, and the story begins with him having just come out of a fight. He's already forgotten what happened, and he's got like blood on his hands, and so he's trying to remember what happened, and it kind of goes through the story from start to finish, and just as he finishes the story, which has got him up to the point where he'd forgotten, he forgets again. It's kind of a little joke there, but that's how the film begins, with that short story, and then kind of the opening title, Sin City opens kind of thing. The other 2 stories, as I say, weren't based on any of the books. They were written just for the film. You probably could get that just from watching the trailer or just kind of reading about it online. I'm sure you probably are already aware of that. But what they're basically about is, there's one story, it's the character played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he's basically a card player, and he gets involved with the Rourke family, which is one of the big gangster families. Well, it's not the family, he gets involved with a family member, the Senator Rourke, played by Powers Booth, who you saw in the original film for like 1 or 2 scenes, but in this he's like the main bad guy of the film. And he's playing cards against him, and all hell kind of breaks loose, and I won't ruin that. I'm not going to give out major spoilers or anything like that, but that's basically what that story is about. It turns out, the only spoiler I will give you is that the Joseph Gordon-Levitt character turns out to be Senator Rourke's son, but he's a son that he doesn't want to claim responsibility for, basically, because obviously Senator Rourke in the first film was pissed off with Bruce Willis because he killed his only son, which was the Yellow Bastard. Well, took away his ability to have children anyway. So, because you would have thought, well, hang on, he's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt as his son, why doesn't he just kind of invest in him a little bit and kind of have him as like the one that kind of carries on the family line? But he doesn't want to take responsibility for him because his mother was a whore, so kind of keeping that aside. But that's that story anyway. Like I said, I'm not going to get too deeply involved with that. The fourth story is a continuation of That Yellow Bastard, which was the one with Bruce Willis and Jessica Alba, who played the Nancy character. It's set, I think it's supposed to be set 4 years after. I think it's supposed to be set 4 years after the events of That Yellow Bastard. And she's really kind of hit a low point. She started drinking like heavily, and she's obsessed with getting revenge on Senator Rourke, because it was his son that was the Yellow Bastard that kidnapped her when she was a little kid, and then again later on. And it's because of him and that whole family that the John Hartigan character played by Bruce Willis killed himself at the end of the first film. If you've seen the first film, you'll know all about what I'm talking about there. So it's kind of a continuation of that. She's like desperate for revenge against him, and again, I won't go too deeply into it, but you can kind of use your imagination what that how that would play out in the film anyway. So, but again, that story has Marv in it, which is confusing because it's 4 years after. When is it set? Because he died. So I don't quite understand the timeline of this. It is quite confusing. Just the books themselves. It's not the film's fault. The books are very much out of sequence with each other, and it's hard to tell what exactly the timeline is. I'm sure it can be done, but I'm just saying it can't easily be done. So, but it's a good film anyway. That's basically what happened. My thoughts on it are, it's very much like the first film. They did a really good job of taking the whole stuff page for page pretty much. There's a few bits that aren't in it, as was the case with the first film. Specifically, there's a bit in A Dame to Kill for the book with a character called Agamemnon, it's a hard name to pronounce, who's he's friends with the character played by Josh Brolin, the Dwight McCarthy character, and there's a whole bits of that character's not even in it from memory anyway. I didn't spot him, but he does have some fairly big bits in the actual graphic novel, so they cut him out anyway for pacing, I assume. But yeah, like I say, it's taken pretty much page for page, like the first film was. They didn't need to storyboard it because they've got everything kind of ready here in the books, which I guess is good about it. Now, there was one thing I was kind of thinking, the Ava Lord character played by Eva Green. One thing I thought was, like, is she going to be, like, going nude in this film? Because in the book, she is pretty much naked through at least half of it, the bits that she's in, because she kind of does that to kind of manipulate men's minds and stuff like that. She's got this, like, amazing figure and everything. So they kind of needed to, if they were going to have somebody that was going to go naked, she had to be like, have a nice body with no clothes on kind of thing. Not to be a kind of sexist pig or anything like that, but it's just fact, you know. You had to be somebody who was stereotypically attractive when naked kind of thing. And that was actually the case with this. She was naked through most of it. I thought they were going to kind of tone it down, maybe have her in shadows kind of thing, but nope, she's like full on naked. I mean, it's not like that graphic, it's just like above the waist kind of thing most of the time. But yeah, they, you know, she really kind of took an investment in the character and they went all the way with it, because most of the film, well, most of the bits that she's in, she strips off. So they kind of, again, took it literally. That's the kind of point I'm making. Other than that, like I say, my thoughts on the film, did I like it? Yes, I did. It's kind of different in this case to the first film, because I saw the first film having not read any of the books, and I've read them many times since, so I knew the A Dame to Kill For story backwards. So to see it in a film, with no surprises, it's all kind of, like I say, page for page, taken from the source material. I knew what to expect, so it wasn't boring, but it felt like it kind of dragged at some points as well. And like one other reviewer, Jeremy Jans, had said, you know, if you cut the whole A Dame to Kill For stuff, the pace of the film would have probably been better and not quite as slow as it was, which is funny because that's obviously the main story. That's what the film's named. Don't get me wrong, I liked it. I think they did a really good job. I'm not criticising it, but it did kind of drag. That's the only thing I would kind of say. But you can't fault them for that, because they're just basing it on the source material. Do I have much else that I can really add, to be honest? Like I say, if just to kind of be clear again, the books that this is based on, the sequel, Sin City 2, it's based on books number 2 and book number 6. That's if you've got this collection. As far as I'm aware, this is how the format that these always come in, these are the order that they always come in. So it's book number 2, which is A Dame to Kill For, and one of the short stories from book number 6, which was Booze, Broads and Bullets. And like I said, the other 2 stories were written specifically for the film. And this was co-directed by Frank Miller. The original film was just directed by Robert Rodriguez, although there was a scene that was directed by Quentin Tarantino as a guest director, but the sequel is directed by both Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller. And I guess that's fair enough. I'm not a big fan of Frank Miller, to be honest. I think some of his early stuff was quite good, but I think in more sort of recent times he just kind of up his own arse, basically. But anyway, that's a separate issue. I'm not going to go into that. Now, in terms of how well it's done in the box office, I've heard it's not done too brilliantly, which is a bit of a shame. I would have liked to have seen them do the other books, particularly book number 7, which is called Hell and Back. That would be a very interesting one. It's the biggest story that they've done in terms of volume, anyway. And it's a really good story. It's about another character. It didn't reboot it, but it kind of, instead of rehashing stuff with the same characters, this one introduced new characters and kind of ran with that. Particularly interested in this one to see if they'd have done it as a film, because there's one bit in particular where the character kind of starts to hallucinate. And you'll see, obviously, the artwork normally kind of looks like this. It's very kind of monochromic. I don't know. I can't pronounce that word. Monochrome. That's kind of the way they kind of look that it goes for. But so there's a bit where it hallucinates, and the actual look of the thing goes like this, like a bit more kind of typical comic book artwork. So that would have been really interesting to see how they would have gone with that, because again, they do the books page for page pretty much, so they would have really had to have gone with this and not ignored it. There's all sorts of stuff in this, like Dirty Harry turns up at one point. There's an Ed 209, which is kind of a little joke, because Frank Miller, who wrote this, did actually write RoboCop 2 and 3. There's a few other things as well, like Captain America, there's Rocky. I think Hellboy even turns up for like one bit as well. But so that would have been really interesting if they'd have done this as a film. That would be great. But I don't think that's going to happen, because as I say, I don't think Dame to Kill For the film has done that brilliantly at the box office. Could be wrong. I don't know. We'll see how it goes over time. But yeah, other than that, I think I'll pretty much leave it there. If you want to see my review of the first film and kind of more in depth on the books, go to brandxreviews.com. It was one of the first reviews I did. It's not brilliant, but I kind of did what I could with what I had. So a bit like this review, basically, just me in front of a camera rambling. So I will leave it there anyway. Now, this week I'm going to be reviewing the Blu-ray of Amazing Spider-Man 2, because it's out tomorrow, so that's 1st of September, that's Monday. I'm reviewing this on Sunday, the 31st of August. So you've probably already seen Sin City 2 by now, because it's been out for long enough. But yeah, so if you check back brandxreviews.com, and if there is any other news coming out about sequels to this Sin City, which as I say I kind of doubt, I will be covering it on the website, so feel free to check back anyway, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.